Laurel. I have dreamt about this moment for 8 years. For me, the idea of being able to say whatever I want to a captive audience has always been exciting. As a middle schooler and into high school, I would often dream about what I would give my senior speech about. One day I would decide to give it about theater, while the next I would choose my passion for saving the environment. I would imagine giving a speech about how I love my naturally curly hair, who my BFF would be if I was a character on Friends, yearbook, singing in the shower, photography, my life as a musical, violin, and even my ability to recite all of the lyrics to the original Ranked soundtrack. When my senior speech was something in the future, it seemed like there were an abundance of ideas. However, when it was time for me to actually write my speech, well, that was a different story. I knew that there were a lot of ideas, but I realized that none of them really showed who I, Laurel Schwartz, am as a person or an individual. None of them were me. I then realized that none of these ideas felt right because truthfully, if I want to talk about myself, I have to talk about all of you. You all have helped make me who I am today. You've made me me. John F. Kennedy once said, "One person can make a difference and everyone should try." Every single one of you has already made a difference. You've made a difference in my life. Perhaps the best example of this is how you've helped me live my life with Crohn's disease. But in order for me to explain this fully, I need to go back to before I came to MPA. I need to go back to the summer before 4th grade. It was a summer night and I was getting ready for bed. As usual, my dad snuggled me closely, wishing me a good night's rest. Before he got up to leave, my 9-year-old self asked, "Daddy, am I going to die?" I remember thinking that I wasn't afraid of it. I wanted to know if it was going to happen. He must have been expecting the question because he didn't appear to be caught off guard. I felt the weight of the bed shift as he sat back on the edge. He took a breath and replied, "No. No, you won't." The lights flicked off and I heard the footsteps of my dad leaving the room. 2 weeks later, I was admitted to St. Mary's Hospital at the Mayo Clinic, where I was diagnosed with Crohn's disease. The sickness that I had been battling for over a year now, stomach aches, fevers, and weight loss, had a name, and it was in the form of a chronic disease without a cure. A hefty dose of steroids helped me bounce back in time to start 4th grade with my peers, but that was just a band-aid for a more complicated problem. Many trips to the bathroom, mood swings due to medication, and fatigue made me realize that although I now had a diagnosis, my life would never be normal. Part of me felt as though I had no control over my own body. For many of you, the fact that I live with a chronic disease does not come as a surprise. You've seen me at my worst. You've been there when I missed months of school because of active disease or infections. You sat with me during meals when all I could eat was a liquid diet. You've given me a shoulder to lean on when I couldn't deal with all that this disease involves. You snapped me back to reality when my emotions got out of control. And you've given me an escape when all I needed was to feel like a normal kid. But my purpose in telling this story is not to dwell on the fact that my childhood has been less than normal. The purpose of sharing it is to celebrate the fact that I have the confidence to tell my story. And I have that because of the support of all of you. The real beginning to this story is in March of 4th grade. That spring, I found a part of Crohn's disease that I could control: activism. After countless hours of fundraising via email, phone calls, and door knocking, I was the top fundraiser at the annual bowl-a-thon for my local chapter of the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation of America, or the CCFA. I had found it. The thing that helped me stand tall and take ownership of my disease was actually through becoming more involved with it. From there, it took off, and I've been advocating for individuals with Crohn's disease ever since. I started small: walkathons, volunteering for the CCFA Gala, and general fundraising. But I wanted to do more. I wanted to become more involved, and I wanted my story and the story of thousands like me to be heard. I wanted to make a difference for all people living with Crohn's disease. While I found my voice in the CCFA community, at school I still felt different. I was still very sick, and I was afraid to tell my peers what I was going through for fear that they might treat me differently. However, in the middle of 5th grade, that changed. In October 2003, I became a new student at MPA. I was academically unprepared for a college prep school. I I was awkward and sick, and I had never been in a situation where I was forced to make new friends. However, part of the situation seemed perfect. Nobody knew me and what I had been through, so to anyone I met, I could be seen as a normal person. I could be whomever I wanted to be. While I was nervous about making new friends, when I came here I found that people were going out of their way to get to know me. For example, it was my first day here and I was in Mr. Zindo's health class. He introduced me as the new student and Krista Coots yelled out, "Hey, I know you. You're on the University Club swim team." Yes, I was on the swim team. But truthfully, I had absolutely no idea who she was. Regardless, it made me feel welcome. It was evident that my peers wanted to get to know me. The first time I felt like I was taking personal initiative outside of the CCFA and making the world better for people with Crohn's was in 7th grade. My family went to Washington, D.C. for a weekend to lobby senators to pass bills that give better funding to Crohn's disease research. I spent days going door to door in the Capitol telling my story. While the bill didn't pass, I made a giant step in becoming more open about the challenges I faced while living with this disease. While I enjoyed the work I did for CCFA-sponsored events, I wanted to do more. In 2006, I found a place where everyone is educated about inflammatory bowel disease, or IBD. This is because everyone has it. This place is CCFA's Camp Oasis. I have benefited so much from having relationships with others going through the same thing as me, and I know the importance of having the opportunity to connect with other individuals who suffer from IBD. Because of this, 1 year later, as a 9th grader, I created Project Cure, so that everyone does have that opportunity. For Project Cure, I make and sell bracelets to raise money for camp. Through selling bracelets at various fundraisers, art shows, and on the internet, I have donated nearly $8,500 to date. That's enough to provide scholarships to 30 campers. Many of you here came with me to sell bracelets, or you even bought them yourselves. You helped send 30 campers to Camp Oasis. I remember in 8th grade, we used to sneak down to Ms. Bergen's room for recess in order to avoid going outside. There were about 10 of us down there, and I was having a really bad day. Instead, you looked over at me, and you said, "Hey, Laurel, you've changed a lot over the past few years. I'm really glad we're friends." Now, this may have seemed like a small gesture, but it meant a lot, and for some reason I still remember it. It made me realize that I shouldn't be afraid to be myself. In 8th and 9th grade, I used my personal experiences to reach patients individually. I was selected by the local chapter of the CCFA to be the 2007 Youth Ambassador. I mentored newly diagnosed kids, visited them in the hospitals, and gave speeches to hundreds, teaching me not only to be confident in myself and my story, but also how to interact with children dealing with the trauma of being newly diagnosed. However, the first time I felt like I made an immediate impact on an even wider group of people was in 9th grade at the Minnesota State Capitol. I followed the lobbyists through the corridors of the building to the room I would be testifying. I testified for the Restroom Access Act. It passed. Now, here in Minnesota, people with medical conditions requiring immediate access to restrooms must be granted access to bathrooms that would not normally be considered public. I have found my place here. While advocating for Crohn's disease, I have also managed to stay on honor roll, participate in 2 choirs, play in 3 orchestras, become editor-in-chief of the yearbook, be a peer leader, and act as co-president for our school's environmental club. As I found my voice in the CCFA community, I found my niche in school. I was able to be involved in the things that I was really passionate about while dealing with the struggles of a chronic disease. And again, much of this is because of all of you. You helped me be confident in becoming a leader. You've cheered me on in my success and comforted me in my struggles. You've been there for everything that matters. Living with Crohn's disease has given me a unique set of skills, and if I haven't learned anything else here at MPA, I've certainly learned that it's my responsibility to use those skills to make a difference in this world. My family often teases that I will adopt all the orphans in China, make a polar bear rescue center in my backyard, and rebuild all the schools in Haiti. Crohn's disease hasn't just affected my involvement in the CCFA in school. It has impacted the way I see the world. But because I cannot always control the way my body acts, I have become more driven to fix the things that I can help. I volunteer at theater camp, take pop cans out of the trash and put them into recycling, and I try to brighten other people's day. I about what will come in the future. Joining the Peace Corps, composting in the school cafeteria, and changing one person's life. Crohn's disease has defined who I am and has helped me discover who I want to be. But so have all of you. I want to leave my mark on this world, and I wouldn't have realized it without all of you leaving your mark on me first. Next year, we'll have the opportunity to change someone else's world. Know that it all matters. The smiles, the waves, the hugs, the texts or wall posts that simply say, "You rock," or "I love you." It all matters, and it makes a difference, and it changes the world. I believe that each and every one of you can change the world, and it's our responsibility to try. Class of 2011, thank you. You've changed my life.
There is one announcement, I believe.